What is up, people? It's your boy LT here. I got the name right after a long time. This time I want to speak about something. I'm sorry that the fan's running, it's a bit hot here. I do not have an AC in this room, so I'll do my best to cut the fan out of the audio, but if it does get in, then... So this video is more of me wanting to share something with you guys. It's definitely a video that can't be made perfectly because it's based on, I guess, experience and opinion, and it's about sleep paralysis. With that out of the way, let's just get into the video. Sleep paralysis is something that I've had sometimes here and there in life. Few nights here and there. I used to at least have it relatively often. It used to happen once in a while, and it was definitely a very mild case of it. Someone or the other around you, chances are that they have faced it sometime in their life. It's very likely. If you're watching this and you haven't yet experienced so-called sleep paralysis, it's probable that someday in your life you might. Most probably. Hopefully it isn't the worst. It's like, usually it's just someone getting stuck in this half-lucid state and they can't get out of it, but it's nothing much. It's nothing bad or something to worry about. In my case, this is an experience that goes back to when I was much younger. I don't remember the exact year. I don't remember the exact date or anything. I mean, no one really keeps that in mind, especially if it's something that's so obscure as a memory. So I'll just give you a narrative style rundown of how the thing worked. So I was asleep, right? That's what you need to be sleep paralyzed. Yeah, sleep paralyzed. You need to be asleep for starters. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night. For the first few seconds, it just seemed like those times you wake up in the night for like a glass of water. You know, you wake up and nothing's wrong. Maybe you get spooked. Being aware of all that, after I did sort of get into that half 50-50 awake and asleep situation, I noticed one thing was different from every other time that you just wake up at night. And this time I was a little stuck, I felt. So I opened my eyes a little bit and I could see, for the most part, it was dark, right? The room was dark. There wasn't much to make out around the room, and I was a little kid, so I remember I was sleeping with my dad. I wasn't sleeping alone because my mom had traveled to another country. Yeah, so it was just me and dad in the house, and we were sleeping in what was, I guess, the master bedroom. So there's like a big bed, right? And we were both sleeping there. And I wake up and I see this figure. And it's important that I was sleeping with my dad, thank God. But before we get there, I was in this state of sort of panic because this was something so different and heavy on the mind. At that very moment, it felt so heavy. And the moment I started to make out what I'm seeing in the room, I can guarantee you I shit my pants, because I woke up and I was sleeping on my back, right? So I can see the ceiling, and instead of the ceiling, I see this sort of figure on top of me. And it's, looking back now, since I think about these things so rationally and I've seen a lot of shit, it's kind of hard to recollect. My brain's like hitting a wall right now. I can't formulate the words to just like describe it. But so it was this humanoid figure. I have made a sketch of it, and I do art class, so I have made a painting or a digital artwork or something of, trying to remember and sort of put it down in pen and paper, what I saw as a sketch, that is, as an artwork. I will flash it on screen if I can find it and if I care to do so. But the shape was very human. That's what scared me a little more, because as a kid, if you see some sort of obscure figure, like maybe it looks like a monster, we used to all think there was monsters under the bed. There's a different sort of scare to that. There's something like, oh shit, like what is that, But this felt malevolent. That's also what I named the artwork, I think. No, maybe that's a different one. Whatever, besides the point. This felt kind of scary in a different sense, like, okay, this is a physical thing here, because it looked like a person, and I definitely felt held down in bed. It was hard to move, and I remember my breathing getting so much heavier, like it was hard to take the next breath. After each one passed, it got progressively harder. And so its eyes were like, having said that it looked like a humanoid figure, its eyes were hollow and they were big. So you know how we have eye sockets right? Even though my eye is this much, my eye socket is probably this much. Like I can feel my bone cave in over here, outside my eye. And if I were a skeleton, you would see that. Our eye sockets are much bigger than our eyes. It seemed as though, even though this thing had flesh, like you couldn't see outside features of a bone, right? Like it had a smooth humanoid face, although the eyes were hollow. And it seemed as though, in what light was there in the room, because we lived in an apartment, but it was closer to the ground, right? And you had these street lights right outside the window. And I remember that night it was pretty bright in the room. Bright as in for the nighttime. You know what I mean? There's like this blue glow in the room because of outside lights. And so the room was fairly lit up to make sort of distinguish these details about what I was looking at. And so, like I said, the eyes were hollow, but I couldn't see the back of its skull. And even now as I speak about it, I'm thinking, okay, how can you expect that, right? It was such a bizarre moment. How can you expect that you can see the back of the head? Like, that's something probably no one has ever seen, unless you are in a field where you deal with people who have their eyes removed or some shit. I certainly have never seen it. Thinking back now, I feel like when you're in this state, you know certain things, or you are aware of certain things that you don't usually pay attention to these details. You know things at that moment that you don't ever care to know, or even have the ability to understand or know in other parts of life, or like even in that next day. You just don't notice the same things you're noticing back in that moment. In its eyes, there was this void, might I say. It was like an emptiness, and it was a disturbing emptiness. It was something hard to understand and comprehend in the moment. It was like, okay, I can make out all these figures. I can see that it's a humanoid type of thing. Its eyes are oddly big. No features, by the way. There wasn't like nose and mouth, and there wasn't like eyebrows and shit. There was just like a figure, like a plain art figure, the ones you Photoshop and put your shitty flowers on and make it look good, that kind of thing, right? And hollow eyes, a void in there. There's nothing you can see inside, despite the glow in the room. I remember wriggling my hand, like trying to move my fingers around. If I read about sleep paralysis online now, that's I think the best bet that you have to get out of the situation. Just try and move your fingers and toes and all that good stuff, so you can slowly maybe recover your senses and move again and snap out of it, which would be bliss at that time. But I remember just moving my right hand. I think when I did try and move a few inches here and there, I could feel, I think, my dad's face or finger. I don't remember. I could feel another person, and it was the most important thing in that moment, because it made me feel like, okay, it's not me and this thing alone. Because I think I would have shit myself even harder if it was a dream, because then most probably there wouldn't be other people in the room, right? Normal people, you know what I mean? And so, because I could feel reality again, I finally snapped back into Elton sleeping in bed on a Sunday night. Nothing's wrong, no school tomorrow, everything just comes back, right? Mom's not here, all the normal shit. And suddenly the room glows a different shade. It's more pure white as in grey. It doesn't have this blue tint to it. I wake up, I feel the AC blowing in my face. I think I wake up my dad. I'm not sure. I don't remember now if he wakes up, because I'm like shaking and squirming in bed and shit. But like, that was it. It's telling the story to you guys right now, it seems very anticlimactic, like nothing happened, like, oh, I didn't get choked and killed or some shit like that. But that day was important, because that was the first. Like every FIFA commentator ever, after you hit the first goal, that was the first of many. From there on, it's been, I guess it's safe to say, everything's been going kind of downhill from there. But why I'm making this video today, I mean, it's not the most common thing to just get on your chair and start recording your shit about like your sleep paralysis. Like, who gives a shit, right? My discovery, at least personally, opinion, like I said, is that this might be connected to other things going on in the brain. in brain, good in your brain, in my brain for that matter, right? It's like what I thought is this is a phenomenon that happens and it has nothing to do with who you are or like how you think or any of that crap. I did some research into like sleep, just sleep, right? Just normal good old sleep, like you sleep and you have dreams where you, I don't know, own a Ferrari. There's different types of sleep. Most importantly, there's REM sleep. I was also going through a dark web documentary where they spoke something about dude, it's the dark web, okay? So like take this with salt. They talked about transferring consciousness from person to person or person to, I don't know, whatever you can give consciousness, right? And it happened during this REM sort of cycle. And what happens is when you're in this deep state of sort of peace, I guess, and your mind's allowed to do what it just can, right? Your mind has it's like in a sandbox. Your brain's in a sandbox and it can do whatever it wants. And that's usually when, I guess, you see dreams of things that you want the most, maybe dreams of things that you were thinking of before you slept. And so it's like a clean slate for your brain to start over, and it has its little playtime period when you're in REM sleep. And I think it happens for like 15 minutes at a stretch, some shit like that. I'm not sure. But this happens, why I'm talking about this is the fact that, how do I put this so that it just doesn't look bad online? It's very hard to do that, but I will try. So your boy's been having like a bit of, stronger anxiety and I guess a little drizzle of loneliness, I guess. A few negative emotions here and there, but and so what I've noticed is that every little thing that I thought of during the day or like felt during the day sort of manifests itself now in the sleep paralysis. Like before, I remember like I just told the story about the time it first happened. It's very simple, right? Back then I thought it was the weirdest shit, the scariest shit. Like I can end my life right here and it'll be better because I can guarantee this shit won't happen again. Looking at that now, from what I have seen and felt after that day, that seems like a very simple chain of events, because now it's more coherent. It's like someone's listening to your thoughts. Now listen, I'm not going crazy, but I don't know, it's like a very light thought that I'm sharing with you guys. Maybe it's something that will help a few people out there, even if it's just like one person that watches this video and they do happen to have sleep paralysis in the same situation and sort of progression as mine. It might help you understand your situation, because it always helps to talk to someone about these things. So along with these things, like for example, if there was a day that I felt maybe especially lonely, right, and maybe it was a day like, oh, I need a hug, that kind of thing, that very night, I from then on, I swear to God, I don't remember the days or the details of any of these things, but I remember them as a haze, like a general memory of one sleep paralysis event, well, after the first one, and it's like all of them in this one muddled up sort of pie of sleep paralysis. Yeah, like the day I crave for a hug or some sort of, I don't know, like a warm sensation of just being around someone. That night, I can remember one of those days, you get this different type of sleep paralysis altogether. It's no more is it just paralysis, no more are you just stuck in this phase. You can actually hear someone. I remember I could hear some type of white noise in the background. I like this. I think this is because, as far as I can read about this online, no one seems to have any experiences of hearing like white noise or some sort of noise to dim out all the other noises, right? Amidst this white noise, I was able to hear footsteps and just activity, something, sounds that make you kind of sure almost that something is there with you in the room. And believe me when I say it's like the worst shit that can happen, or the worst shit you can be aware of when you're in this state that you cannot get out of. You just have to wait it out, and you have to lay there, because you're sleeping, right? And you just wait for that shit to get over with. It's the worst. I remember this one time I could feel, I can't say hands because, it's a completely different feeling when a human hand, it touches you. You feel the palm and then the fingers, you know what I mean? Like, it's a different form. But there was a time when I felt fingers. I can't say hand, I don't know why it feels wrong to say hand, but wrapped around your neck. Fingers around my neck, and I had a feeling. Another thing I want to point out is that in that moment you know, well, not in that moment, outside of the moment, you know that these things won't happen. You know that I don't know why I keep switching to third person or like saying you, but well, that it is what it is. You know for a fact that these things won't happen because they simply can't. It's not a physical presence. It's not physical fingers. There's not actually someone in the room with you. You know that for a fact. But in the moment, you think that it is so probable. You're just waiting for it to happen. It's not an if it will happen. It's not like a will it. You know what I mean? You feel like when are these fingers going to just like crush your windpipe and you're just going to suffocate and die? Right? Like when is this end going to come? No matter how much you think about it outside of the moment, you can give yourself a million and 100 pep talks that this is not going to happen. It's not a real thing. It's just a phenomenon that a lot of people face around the world, but it's something that's never going to come to actually take place. Right? Your end is not going to be because some weird force after you woke up half is going to like choke you to death and you're gonna die. No, it's not. It's something that can't happen. But when you're in that moment, it is such a situation is such that you're waiting for it. It's like, okay, if not today, then someday. And when? It is the most terrifying thing, because you are in the state of feeling fingers in the back of your neck and like something climbing into bed with you, and something about it feels evil, wrong. I don't know where to place it. The most important thing is it sort of plays into what you think throughout the day. Not only think, I mean, I can think of a lot of things around. I can see a lot of screwed up shit on the internet. Like, browsing the deep web is the best way to understand how weird the world is. I guess it's the deeper emotions, the deeper things you think, the things you think regarding yourself. Like I mentioned, craving a hug or some sort of being around other people, that kind of thing. And that night, it sort of takes these things as leverage and gets to you from those places. I don't know if it makes sense. These things are like hard to talk to. I don't know. I didn't make a script or anything. I think I should have, with like pointers and stuff, so I can like touch on these topics one by one. This whole thing is just a mess. But I'm not gonna make this video too long. It's already 28 minutes. That is with my wasting time getting water and shit. But definitely one of the weirdest and most terrifying things that can happen, because you are at the mercy of whoever that thing is, and you cannot do anything about it. You cannot call for help. You're just stuck, and you're waiting for that moment, that brief second that it will take to crush every foresight that you had about tomorrow or the next hour. I guess that was my piece on that. I guess all I could say. There's nothing much I can do. It's not like I'm going to. Well, I could have put more effort into this and like looked up online and read extensively into sleep paralysis and like all these phenomenons and read creepypastas to get perspective. Well, I guess that's the worst thing I could do, but you know what I mean. Like, I could have worked more on this. But this is a late night video. What's the time? It's like 2:40 in the morning. It was a video I had to make. I took a shower and I was thinking about it in the shower. I've seen some ordinary gamers make this video. I guess watching that video made me feel like, okay, it was possible to talk about this, because before it didn't. If you go and watch his, I think a lot of what I said, thinking about it now, is in line with what he says. I feel like it's a coincidence, but it's definitely because I had no idea how to talk about it, so he sort of paved a path for this sort of format where you can just talk about things you don't understand. People don't usually do that in a sane manner on YouTube, but that was my take on that. It's always nice to sort of share, you know what I mean? Someone's out there, you can always reach out to me. I think my Instagram link in my YouTube channel is indeed outdated. I may have changed the @ or the link may have changed for whatever reason. I will update it. yeah, you guys can stay in touch. Holy shit, my feed is politics, GTA 5, and Elon Musk. I need to get out of this rabbit hole. And Minecraft, and Dr. Phil, and the FBI. What? Okay. So yeah, that was my video on that. Definitely gonna make another video. I have a lot of free time on my hands. Corona time, right? Yes. Which means that we'll have a lot more videos. I need to get my camera and stuff sorted out because I lost my S10. It got stolen from me at a concert, so that's pretty sad. That definitely had a much better camera than this phone that I'm using. I use phones for recording all the time because it's much more convenient. And this is it's a Samsung M30s or something. But yeah, with all that being said, we're at a point where I can finish the video. I definitely want to, I think, try out more of these videos where I just sit down and talk, and maybe next time have a topic that I can actually make a brief script for, formulate my thoughts on a Word document before I just like sit down and record. But if you did like the video, if it for some reason you do feel like, oh, this was worth my time watching, do hit that like button. It does help me out so that I understand what type of videos you guys like. And obviously I'm not a big channel, so I do not give a shit about the algorithm or whatever crap. I'm not even gonna monetize these for a long time. You need like 10k views a month or some crap. I don't even know. I'm so out of touch with that. But that's one video out of the way. I will come back with another video someday talking about something else. You guys please leave in the comments what you want me to do, because my mind is so blank. I've been playing GTA 5 the entire day, every day. That being said, it's always been hard to sign out videos. I don't know why. I keep going in circles. I will see you guys in another video, completely different topic. Please comment and like and subscribe. If you're new, do not forget. I will come for your family if you do not subscribe. With that being said, see you guys in another video. Peace out.